Hello everyone, my name is Christian and welcome to my hobby blog. Today I'm very excited to dive right in to the 31 days of Japanese cinema. And today I'm very excited to introduce the series with one of my favorite films of all time. I am talking about, of course, 1950s Rashomon, directed by Akira Kurosawa. I hope that is popping up well. But this film is so fucking powerful and so impactful and influential too. This movie broke many new grounds that I don't think its influence can be overstated. This movie is very dramatic, has great performances, really great camera work, which I will get into later, and it has really great direction by Kurosawa himself. And that is the director. I don't know if I said it, but Akira Kurosawa directed this film. And this is one of his first major films to really break through. And before this, he had done many shorter films from the mid 1940s during World War II. And then he went on to make some really good and great, because it's been a while since I've seen him. He made some really great Yakuza films that were a lot more focused on the community aspect. But we're not here today to talk about those. We are here to talk about Rashomon. The basic premise of the story is that a man is murdered and his wife is raped. Four eyewitnesses tell the stories, or tell their side of the stories, of what happened to the man and how they were involved with the rape of his wife. And there are many different contradicting statements going on. And it is really interesting to see how each character viewed what happened in front of them. We get many great reaction shots throughout this film, one of which is from the woodcutter, who is played by Takashi Shimura, who is one of the best supporting characters, or at least supporting actors, of Kurosawa's cast of actors that he uses throughout many of his films. But first thing I wanted to do before I sort of go into my thoughts about everything in this film is I want to go through what I really love and appreciate about this movie. So first off, I really love the structure of this. We begin the movie with a character who we don't know the name of, we don't know anything about. He runs under the Rashomon Gate, which is a very large structure that I'm not sure if it's still around today, but it was around for hundreds of years throughout Japanese history. It was a major gate that many people traveled through and passed through. If you've seen the amazing film, which I will not be covering in this series, but if you've seen the film Akira by Kaneto Shindo, you will have seen the same gate in that film. And this character runs under the gate and runs into a priest. And it ends up that this stranger that we don't know is the woodcutter. And he is telling this priest his side of the story. And also, on top of that, to really make things complicated, we have him recounting people's recounts, or accounts, of what happened during the murder and rape that happened, that we will explore throughout this film. And that right there introduces this idea of the Rashomon effect, which was not called that when this movie came out. This movie greatly influenced film writing and script writing because of all the different devices that Kurosawa uses when he is writing his scripts. And for this one especially, truth is not something that can be easily found throughout this movie. We only know of one fact, and that is the death of, or at least, I wouldn't even say the murder. We don't even know if he's murdered. We just know that he dies. We don't know whether it's suicide, whether his wife killed him, whether it was the woodcutter, or whether it was somebody else. This is something that I find really fascinating about the film, which is how we are introduced to these two strangers, and they are talking about this account of a killing and a rape. And after that, we then go through each person as the woodcutter is recounting the interrogation that is going on, where the police are trying to find who the murderer is for this man. And they're trying to find the murderer. And they are getting all the stories from everybody involved. The woodcutter, we have the priest, we also have the wife who is there to give her side of the story. And finally, we have Toshiro Mifune, who plays the, I guess he's the bandit, would be his character, but they are gathering all the eyewitnesses for this. And the central story in the beginning of the film is the priest and the woodcutter talking and recounting this interrogation. And during the interrogation, we're getting recounts and sort of different accounts of what's going on. And so when the woodcutter is recounting all of these different stories, he is not telling those stories honestly. He is only giving them what he remembers. And that is a very important theme throughout the story, or this film, is that people's different perspectives and who they are change the way that they recount memories or experiences that they have taken. And so one really good example of this would be the bandit character and how he describes the rape, because he does rape the wife of this man that is murdered, and he describes it as her wanting him. And when she takes the stand and begins recounting what actually happened, she is emotional, she is hurt, she is angry at what happened. And we learn so many things about this woman, and she is definitely one of my favorite parts of this film, and one of my favorite elements of this film, because her actress, who is, I want to make sure I say it right, is Machiko Kyo. And she, I was looking up some of her film titles, and she'd been in a Kenji Mizoguchi film. I believe this is the same director, but she was in Yugetsu, which I think is pronounced Yugetsu. I apologize for not getting it right, but she was a very seasoned actor in the 50s, and she just really knocks it out of the park in this movie, in my opinion. Her acting range is so wide and so vast, and she just gives so many great monologue scenes throughout this film. And one of my favorite parts is when she takes the stand and she is recounting what happened, and she is giving her side of the story, which is a lot more nuanced than either of the men that have talked so far, which is the woodcutter and the bandit. The woodcutter, who is a older gentleman, and then the bandit, who is a really adrenaline heavy warrior, who is just roaming the countryside looking for whatever he's looking for. And I really enjoy how all of these characters come together and how each of them are interacting with each other. And the dialogue is something that really blew me away this time, because I was listening to the audio commentary, and I had listened to an interview with Takashi Shimura before watching this film, and he was talking about how they don't really write down the dialogue. A lot of it is improvised. And so I was really surprised by that, because there's some speeches throughout this movie that really just kind of blows you away. And I assume they plan out that the actors and the director, because Kurosawa is a very involved director. He is always welcoming of feedback. He's definitely a perfectionist, and that's why his films have so much to enjoy. But it was quite well known that he and Toshiro Mifune had heavy falling out later in life, and we will explore that a little bit later in the series. But one of the things that was well known about Toshiro Mifune and Kurosawa's collaboration or cooperation together is that Toshiro Mifune is one of the greatest actors. He has so much range, and he is able to do many different types of characters. If you watch the film High and Low, for example, that is a very different character than what he usually plays. If you watch the film Red Beard, which is the final film where Kurosawa and Mifune work together, he's playing a totally different character in that one. And this one, he is playing a character that foreshadows the character he's going to play in one of the best films of all time, which is The Seven Samurai, which we will talk about, just to give spoilers for soon to come video in the series. But just to go down the list, I think I've exhausted that topic quite a bit, but I really love the camera work in this film. The camera work is absolutely exquisite. It's very beautiful. We get one of the most groundbreaking shots of all time, and for those who don't know, that is the camera pointing at the sun. That had never been done before this film, which is really sort of mind-boggling to expect or to think about, because it just seems like something that would have happened earlier than 1950 is sort of my point, because films have been being made for about 40 years by this point, feature films, and it is really interesting that the camera was never pointed up and was instead, on the x-axis and below. It is really interesting to think about how that shot just really blew the doors open, because there was another interview on this release with, Robert Altman, who is a really great director. I don't know anything about him. I assume he's great because he has a lot of Criterion releases under him. But there's an interview with him on this release where he talks about how after he saw that shot with the sun, he went right outside immediately and shot the sun and was shooting somebody on a swing set, and he would shoot the ground and he would shoot up at the sun. And he said that right there just kind of blew his mind about what he could do and sort of the out-of-the-box originality of Kurosawa. And to piggyback off of that, Kurosawa is the master of cinematography, in my opinion, because this is something that will become very evident as we go throughout this series. But Kurosawa, he is very dynamic when it comes to his shot composition, because we will start with two figures talking in the scene, and they will be talking, they will be facing each other. One of them will walk away far in the distance to go pick up a piece of wood, and that other character will still be standing there. He will look away and look to the right, and the camera will back up so that the guy who's off getting wood, he's out of the shot now, and the camera will back up to where the guy getting wood now is on the far left of the frame, and now the middle guy who didn't move, he's in the middle, and now you see somebody else walking in. And then as that's happening, the camera will then move, all without a single cut. This is all happening within one press of the button. And this is what I love about Kurosawa, is spotting these shots where he will start with one frame, then he'll pull back and reveal another frame, and then he'll zoom forward to another frame, and then he'll zoom back to another frame. And there's a really great shot in this one where someone is getting a piece of wood, and they're building a fire in the foreground, and there are two characters in the back, and one of them walks up and is talking to the character, and he's sort of articulating his memories, or articulating his sort of struggles with who was the murderer, or who is the murderer. And he'll stop talking, he'll go back, and then the next guy beside him will come back and sit with the guy making the fire. And this is something that happens in many of Kurosawa's films. Didn't happen as much in his early films, I assume because of budget or time constraints, but with this film and Yoshinbo, which we will talk about, and spoilers, apologies, but we'll also talk about Yoshinbo later on, pretty soon actually. And that film, Seven Samurai, Redbeard, all these really great epic films, at least ones where when you're watching you can just feel that this is a different film, this is something special. All of them have this quality of the camera going through many different frames and blocking, and it will just really add to the I don't know how to say, but it really adds to the substance of the film, because it is not every movie that you ever see this. And one of my favorite from I won't even talk about, because we'll talk about Seven Samurai later, but there are some really great ones throughout all his work, and I encourage everybody to keep their eyes out for that. And one quick recommendation that I urge people to follow is to look up the YouTube channel Every Frame a Painting, and track down the Kurosawa video all about framing the shot. And they use Seven Samurai as an example, and I would highly recommend people go check that out to see exactly what I am talking about. But next we have Toshiro Mifune, who is somebody that has a very interesting wide berth of films. We'll even be talking about some of his films outside of his collaboration with Kurosawa later in the series, but he is so eclectic in this story. He is calm one moment, and the next moment he's up, jumping, hollering, and he is just... It is shocking to me that this was his first major film, because he's been in a couple films before this. One of them was Drunken Angel, where he was not really sitting, but he was laying down on a hospital bed for, I think, the majority of that film, which isn't the best showcase of his acting capabilities, but I really enjoy his smaller roles that he has in the Kurosawa 40s films. And this is really his first film that he gets a full acting part, and boy does he fucking nail it. He is so good in this film. And one thing that I learned throughout the commentary track with Ronald Ritchie, Donald Ritchie, yes, Japanese cinema expert. He was talking about how Toshiro Mifune was told at some point of rehearsals, because they would, again, to sort of figure out how the film was going to be, a lot of it was improvised. And so they would meet for rehearsals and they would go through the movie together and sort of figure out the lines and improvise. And Toshiro Mifune was told to have a very tiger-like demeanor as his character. And I really enjoy that because, while the wife of our murdered man comes in, Toshiro Mifune completely acts like a tiger. He at first acts like he doesn't care. He's laying back on a tree with his arms behind his back, and he is just eyeing her like she is prey. And he is just so nasty in the way that he is looking at her, and it's so subtle. But you see him slowly getting up. He's, getting up off of his out of his slumber, I guess, and he starts stalking her and is hiding in the trees and is hiding in the shade, which, by the way, the sort of marriage between the light and dark in this film is absolutely amazing. I did finally fix my TV color settings, which I apparently did not set right, and it looked awful for so long because the black was very staticky and I just did not understand it. So I was messing around with my colors and I changed it to movie setting, and oh my god, the shadows became much easier to look at. No more static in my black colors on my TV. So I don't know why it was doing that, but I was really surprised by the lighting in this film. But Toshiro Mifune is so unreliable in this movie. I know that's the theme of the entire movie, but everybody is unreliable to a degree in life. And this movie really plays off of that. And Toshiro Mifune, I think, is somebody who can play that role very well. I think his character in Seven Samurai is a little bit more nuanced and a lot more bombastic, and I love that. But I think this movie really strikes the balance really well between that bombasticism, I don't know the word, but it has that very great balance of that and him being more laid back and more calculating, because he is trying to get this woman and she decides that she would rather die, and he, Toshiro Mifune, or her husband must die. And so it's very interesting to watch all of them working together, but especially the wife and Toshiro Mifune together, because, oh my gosh, it's up to you. There are no straight answers to how people feel in this movie. Everybody is either lying or telling the truth. There is no in between. It is, I think, impossible to decide who killed the man, but I don't think it matters in the end, because it's all about the unreliability of humans. So, and again, I want to highlight, I want to re-emphasize the acting chops of Machiko Kyo. She is so good in this film. She expresses many emotions so effectively, and so much with nuance. She is. I wish she was in more after the 50s, but I looked it up and she apparently just died 4 years ago in 2019. And that was sort of shocking to me because here was somebody who has been playing this amazing performance for all these years, and that I've enjoyed this movie for all these years, and I never noticed or even heard that. So I want to give a shout out to her. Rest in peace. What a great performance that she has. And again, Takashi Shimura is in this film. He's an amazing actor. He's also in another great film, which I don't think I'll talk about, but he's also in Akira, which is a later Kurosawa film, I think, from the early 60s, maybe late 50s. I think it was after Seven Samurai. But Akira was I'll get into it later, but he plays the main role in that film for the first time in a very long time. He usually plays the supporting character, and in this one he plays the woodcutter. He's amazing in it. He always plays so well off of other actors and actresses. I really enjoy his role in Seven Samurai, especially. And in this film, he is supporting Toshiro Mifune and also Machioka. I don't want to screw her name up. Machiko Kyo. He interacts with them the most, and also with the priest character and the other stranger that pops up in the Rashomon gate. But another thing to mention, there's really not much else to discuss, but this movie is really rewarding to rewatch throughout the years, because as you watch more Kurosawa films, you will notice there's a lot of repeating actors and actresses being used throughout these films. And that's because Kurosawa had a really great working relationship with a large group of people, and he would try to utilize the skills as long as he could until they just either wanted nothing to do with him anymore, such as Toshiro Mifune, or he would work with them for the rest of his life, such as his wife, who was his editor, I believe. She definitely acted in one of his early films, The Most Beautiful Day, I believe, which is a World War II propaganda film, actually, all about factory workers working together to build, I don't think they're building munitions, but I think they're building something in these factories for the war, sorry. And it's really interesting how these all these people sort of come in and out of Kurosawa's works. And I wanted to highlight that because that is something you're going to notice when you go through his films. And one last point that I want to say about the cinematography, because I could go on all day about this if I wanted, but one last point is that I really love the actual interrogation that we have throughout this movie, because the camera is focused right here, is looking straight out, is looking in front of me, and in front of the camera are the person who is being interrogated on the left, and then the guy who is holding his bondages. They are right in front of the camera, facing us, and so we have a lot of great scenes where the actors and actresses are looking right at the camera, pleading with us that they are not guilty. Or in the case of Toshiro Mifune, he is bragging that he raped this woman and was able to sort of defile her. And you also get her pleading to be killed because she has been dishonored in this way. And in the back, we have our two other witnesses who are waiting their turn. We have the woodcutter, and then we have, oh my gosh. we have somebody else on this side because uh, the fourth witness has been killed, and of course is the man. But later on in the film, we get a really great scene, which is where that dead man is spoken to through a medium and tells his story of what happened. And that scene is just so well done. I love the cinematography in it. I love the dialogue. He is so ethereal in his dialogue. He is talking about how he's in hell and it's just darkness down there. He is suffering, and he loudly proclaims that whoever put me down here shall burn forever, and that he curses whoever sent him down to hell. And this is a really great scene, and there's still about 20 minutes left after that. And we never get any answers. That's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that you don't really ever know what people are internalizing when it comes to experiences, and that the word may not even be true. So I really love that about this film. But the last thing I wanted to discuss is its impact, because this is something that I think is really important for us to look at when we're going through this series, which is, why is this movie important? Well, the impact of this film is quite important. This is regarded as one of the best, greatest films of all time, and for good reason. Back in the 1950s, when it was released, it won the Golden Lion Award, which is one of the biggest awards in Italy back during the 1950s and later, and it's still being awarded today for great films. But it has won that, and it also won the Academy Honorary Award from the Academy in America, if you don't know. And this movie, for good reason, won those awards, because it is one of the best edited films, shot films, acted films. It's every box in the book can be ticked for this, because it is a near perfect film, and I am completely comfortable saying that. And the last thing is that this inspired what is called the Rashomon effect, which is from this movie, but it's a storytelling and writing method in cinema in which an event is given contradictory interpretations or descriptions by the individuals involved, thereby providing different perspectives and points of view of the same incident. So that's the entire point of the movie, is that nothing is really true. The only thing that's true is that this man died. Everything else is up to interpretation. And on top of that, this is the film that really brought Japanese cinema to the international market. And one of the things that really surprised me is that during this time of filmmaking in Japan, if they did not make the film with a Western audience in mind, they never released it out to the West. And they would basically just hold on to it. They would not release it out of the country. And that was really interesting to me, because this movie was considered as not for the West. And the Academy, the Golden Lions, all these different award shows throughout many different countries came, and they were like, hey, we want this movie. We want to run this through the festival. And it might win the award, who knows? And Kurosawa was like, oh, okay, like, that's weird. Yeah, sure, I'll grant it. And it ended up winning all of those rewards, as I said. And I was really surprised, because nobody expected this movie to do so well. and it did well in Japan because Daiei actually made money off of this movie, which is really good. But they didn't see that this movie was a universally that this movie could be so universal. And I really like that this movie did become so popular because it's a very good one. I really don't have much else to say. I don't even know how long I've been going, but thank you everybody for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next entry as we tackle a different film from a different director. I will not spoil it. Thank you all so much, and please have a good night.